What's up, guys? It's me again, Chris. Welcome back to VHB Engines. So anyway, the other day I posted some receipts from good old FedEx, right? Posted some receipts up from FedEx because I wanted you guys to take a little peek behind the curtains and see the cost of operating business, right? So just from my experience this year, right? Because I've been doing this shit for a couple of years now. But this year has by far, in a way, been the biggest one I've ever had for sales. The most I've ever sold, the most I've ever done. I've done a lot of work this year. In the years past, I've had busy years, but those years I made pretty much no money. Like the very first year I started doing shit, I wasn't making any money. I was only turning enough profit to buy the next engine. And a lot of times I wasn't even doing that because I was having people bring me blown blocks and taking a huge trade out. You know, like you bring me a blown engine and I'll sell you this stock rebuilt one, and I'll knock off a couple $100 for you, whatnot. So I was only making a couple $100 per build. Other people were making a steal on me, but I was able to build engines. So when one guy says on Instagram that I'm doing it for the love, yeah, I was just doing it because I love doing this shit. I still do it because I love doing this shit. And even though sometimes shit gets frustrating, and you know, it's when I get frustrated with my work, it's not so much because I have too much work, although I have a lot. And what happens is that I get frustrated that I can't always keep it right on target for people. Like if I quote a time, I like to be on time, and I don't like people to wait for me, because for me, it's 1 weekend of VHB Engines work at a time. But for you guys buying, it's 1 week at a time. So 3 work periods for me for VHB Engines, it turns into 3 weeks. So, if let's say I did this, let's say I was doing VHB Engines as my 9-to-5 job. If I was doing VHB Engines as a 9-to-5 job, 3 weeks is 6 days. So like if this was my full-time job, then 3 weeks would equal out to about 6 days in the work week. So instead of you waiting 3 weeks, it would be 1 business week, and then in the next one you would get it. So that's why I get frustrated sometimes with myself, because there's a lot of things that's out of my hands that I can't do. Parts being ordered, machine shop work, all kinds of different things that happen. Tools failing, that happens. A lot of money goes on the tools too that you guys don't see. So anyway, there was a little bit of confusion. You know, the price. Let's see, if you didn't see it, by chance, $470 there on that trip to FedEx. $266 on that trip to FedEx, and $176 on that trip to FedEx. These are all within the past month. These are just the past month's worth of business here, right? But also notice this. Notice the length of the receipts, guys. It's not just one thing I'm sending. I tell you guys all the time when I'm on Instagram and shit that I prefer to send everything in one shot. So if I've got logs of parts that are backing up, I like to go to FedEx at one time. I don't want to make a trip to FedEx and then make another trip to FedEx and then make another trip to FedEx. So if I have things that are all done around the same time, or, you know, I will have somebody wait a little while longer, because it makes it a little bit more convenient for me to just do everything in one dump. So like one of the guys on that $470 ticket, his product had already been done for 2 weeks, and I sent it out late. Now, a week late, I don't mind doing that depending on when I finish the build. What happened was that he got finished, but he got finished at the end of my work weekend. He got finished at Monday morning in the AM. I go to work Tuesday night. So if it gets finished then, it has to wait till the following weekend for me to ship. I just don't have time during the week to do it, and I'll ship the following Saturday. So that happened. I was going to have him wait a week after it was finished, but then I was going to ship some other stuff that following weekend as well, and I lost a tool, had to wait for the tool to come in to finish that job, which pushed it back again another week. So that's why it was 2 weeks after it was finished for it to be shipped, right? So I guess what you see is when you see the bigger receipt totals, it just means I'm doing more work, right? So not necessarily that, but you know, of course, absolutely, these prices do dig into my profits. And when I give you the price of a short block or a head or whatever, anytime I quote you a price, it is the shipped price. That is shipping included. So if you're like, damn, bro, $650 is a really good quote, I've already quoted, and that part of that quote is $100 in shipping. So really, I'm not making that. Also, another thing that wanted to trigger this is that I got into like a little debate with somebody while I was taking a shit at work. So I had comments on, so a guy had posted on South Florida Sales. He posted on all the groups down here. The guy lives in Key West. He starts posting a bunch of K-Series parts. He starts selling some of the little knickknacks, but the ones he wants the bigger dollars for it, he can't sell. He's not selling the head. He's got an RBB head on there. He's at 200, I'll sell it to you for 200 or 250 shipped, right? And crickets. So I posted on there, look, man, I'll give you 60 bucks. I'll give you 60 bucks for the head. So he DMs me right away. Why? Because nobody commented on it, and he thought he was about to make some money. He could have if he would have accepted my offer. Right? I said 60 bucks. He's like, come on, bro. Me and you both know this shit ain't worth 60 bucks. I was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. I bought the last two for $30 and $50. You're right. It's not worth $60. I'm offering you too much. I was like, you want the 60 bucks or not? I'll even drive down to Key West, which is a fucking hour and a half for me to pick it up. What's up? Oh, no, bro. Nah, bro. He's like, I'm be in Miami tomorrow. You can meet me there. I'm like, 60 bucks? He's like, 150. I'm like, nah, I'm not doing it. Now, if you're thinking, Chris, you're being a cheap cunt, $150 is fair. It's not fair when the average market price is under $100 for that head. Every single time. If I feel confident that I can buy that part again at the same price, and I'm not in a pinch that I need it, which I'm not, then I will not overpay. Refuse. Now, again, I'm not being a cheap cunt. It's because I know the cost of the expenses on my side. I know how much everything costs. So when I say I got into the debate with him while I was taking a shit, is because I mentioned that, and then I'm like, bro, I was like, you're crazy. I've bought complete K20 heads for 300 bucks. I was like, recently, you know, or nearly complete, missing a cam gear or whatnot. So I was like, bro, there's no way in hell I'm coming out $150 out of pocket for a RSX head, or for a TSX head. It's just not happening. Bro, me and you both know that people aren't just buying the K20s. I said, okay, fine. So I didn't comment anymore. I just left it as like standing offer. You can change your fucking mind. So a week later, I opened my DMs and he had sent me more messages that I had not paid attention to. So I'm pooping. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, fuck it. I got time now. Let me just respond real quick. And he answered me again, like immediately. So again, trying to make money, thinking that he's gonna talk me up into buying the shit. I'm not doing it. I'm just not gonna do it. But I wanted to prove a point as well. And that was the only reason why I continued on with the conversation. So he tells me, he goes, I'm not fucking stupid. You're going to sell it for $1,000 and you're going to make $900 profit. I'm like, well, wow. That goes to show how little you know. You are fucking stupid because it doesn't work that way. Even if I rebuild it, let's say I clean it all up and I sell it as a stock head complete, because it wasn't complete. He was just selling the head with springs, with the valve train. He was selling the head with the valve train, so more or less bare. That was what people would consider a bare head. I would consider that a bare head. So he was selling it like that, and he wanted $150 for it. And it didn't even have the fucking rocker assembly, which is the most valuable thing on the TSX head. That's the one thing that you can guarantee to make the most money off of, is the rocker assembly, because when people sell their heads, they sell it without that because the rocker assemblies are expensive. And they're all interchangeable, so people just keep them or sell them separately, right? So I'm like, no, that's not how that works, man. For me to make that kind of money off that head, I have to buy aftermarket springs, retainers, and keepers, right? You don't just clean that up and flip it for $1,000. That's ridiculous. You have to rebuild it. Well, springs, retainers, and keepers cost you $450, right? So 450 bucks. So 450 off rip. You know, let's just, it's 450, right? So plus the fucking cost of the valve seals, which is like $12. So whatever, 470, right? My bad if my math has been fucked up at any point in this little estimation. It's still rough cost, and it's still going to give you a rough idea what I'm talking about here on cost of operations, right? So if it costs that in parts alone, right, plus the head itself, right? So $420 for the valve springs and retainers, for the valve springs, retainers, and seats. $420 if you're getting 100-pound springs, right? Plus the keepers. So okay, yes, that brings it up to $450. Plus the valve seals, they're around $460, right? Now add in the cost of the head itself. If I get it in my asking price, that's $60, right? That's $520, right? $520. Now factor in the cost of the shipping, right? So an extra $100 on the shipping, or $80 if you get it at a good price, right? So, $450 for the valve springs, retainers, and seats. $420 if you're getting 100-pound springs, right? Plus the keepers. So okay, yes, that brings it up to $450. Plus the valve seals, they're around $460, right? Now add in the cost of the head itself. If I get it in my asking price, that's $60, right? That's $520, right? Now factor in the cost of the shipping, right? So an extra $100 on the shipping, or $80 if you get it at a good price, right? So is $600, right? $600. $600 in parts alone. And that's if I sell it at $1,000. And I'm not, because I don't offer that head at that package. Now, I did increase the price of the TSX head with the springs retainers up to $800. But $800 is still $200 underneath of fucking 1,000, right? So we're at $600 on parts alone, right? Or parts and shipping. Now, I'm selling it for $800. How much profit am I making? $200? How many hours does it take to do the cleanup? How many hours does it take to fucking to polish the valves? How many hours does it take to fucking lap the valves? Is it $200 worth of labor? I don't know, man. I'm not 100% sure that it is, right? It averages, and I checked it again. Like the first week I did a rebuild, it took me about 10 hours to do the head. Now, the next time I did another head, it took me about 8 hours. Can I whittle that speed down? I don't really think I can get it any lower than that, any faster than that. I don't think I can do the rebuild any faster than that without, cutting corners, without doing a sloppy job. So, $200 for 10 hours worth of work, I would say that's fair. But when you look at that big ass total, I don't think that really matches, it doesn't really match. Again, to quote Luke from over at 4Piston, he says, if you try to charge by the hour on the work that you do for engine building in any form, you're never going to reach a fair price. So the best you can do is try to calculate what's a fair price for the product you're trying to sell. So at the end of the day, when I was offering to sell an RBB head with springs and retainers for $650, I think I was dramatically undercutting myself way too sharply. So, and of course, I just use the head as an analogy because that's the best one that's off the top of my head. But if you want to look at it as a block as well, I've been pretty honest to guys with you guys about how much I spend the money on for blocks. Like when I spend money on K24s, generally speaking, I buy a base long block for $100, and then I charge $500 for the core of the block, like $500 for the short block, and with the short block and crank. But the things that you're not seeing to factor into that is parts is the main place I make my money off of, guys. If I'm just doing the rebuild, I'm only charging $350 for a block. For engine rebuild on a block. That's a lot of hours that goes into doing that. A lot of work goes into doing that rebuild. And so the labor itself really isn't enough. So for me to make any money, to make that job worthwhile, I have to make the money on the parts. And at the end of the day, I still think that $500 for a bare short block with crank. And if you decide that you want to use rods, I'll add that in without increasing the price any. But I think that's a fair price because, guys, I literally drive hours sometimes to pick up stuff. So sometimes I only drive like 20, 30 minutes or whatever. But I pick up the short block, I bring it back home, I clean it, I strip it, all this shit. There's a lot of hours that goes into that. So I think that the extra labor that you don't see on the back end, which is the disassembly and cleanup and all that shit, goes into the price of the core itself, right? It may not look like upfront like it's worthwhile, but at the end of the day, you could always choose to get your own block, strip it down, send it to me, and then I'll send it back, and then you could potentially save money there. I don't know. It just depends on the person you are. But most people would like to keep their hands clean, just order a block, and then out of nothing, you get a block. And so that's how I make the money on the short blocks. That's how I make the short blocks profitable. And at the end of the day, guys, it's not super profitable because what I did is I changed it to the $500 for the core, for the block and the crank, and then the shipping in the labor is kind of merged. So shipping a short block is about $110. So what I did was, instead of charging $110 into the bill for shipping and then charging $350 separate for shipping, what I did was I merged the two. So now, instead of keeping labor and shipping separate, I just charge $400, and that covers the labor and the shipping, right? And also to add transparency, and I haven't hid this, I've told you guys before, I have a 25% discount on my account. Now, when you see the number on the receipt, you also remove 25% from that, because the FedEx doesn't calculate my account's discount on the spot. Like what they do is they charge a placeholder on my account. So like for the $470 tab, when I don't even swipe my card anymore. The main reason why I made the account is because they store a card on there and they just charge the account. So $90 got charged, and it's waiting for the account, the balance to balance out to what the real difference is going to be, and then that's going to be charged to my account later on. So right now, from FedEx, I have two like $90 placeholder charges, and once that balances out, I believe it's going to be $500 is going to hit my account. So out of the heads, I think I sold 2 heads, 2 blocks recently. Yeah. So out of the 2 heads and 2 blocks I sold, and the accessory kit and all that stuff, I got $500 worth of charges that are still going to come. So if I already got, like, if you're a good customer and you've already paid me up front, that's great. You know, I've already had that money, that money already went to the account. I used that money to buy parts and get everything I needed and assemble, and that money was there. And then now, a month or so later, there's the back end charges hit me. So that's why, you know, like, again, full transparency, I've grossed, like, I haven't factored in the money I spent recently, so I think it's like $2,800, or not $2,800, Jesus. It's been $28,000 in gross total sales this year. Profit margins are a big chunk of that. There's a big chunk of that. Because there are some things that maybe I didn't get the full amount for, but it cost me nothing to get that kind of thing. So it's not the full total, but it's a chunk of the total, and that total was non-existent before the order, that kind of deal. So there's a lot of things that balances out. VHB Engines has been extremely profitable for me. But as far as VHB Engines becoming my full-time job, well, the last time I checked payroll, I think I'd made like $48,000 off of my regular 9 to 5. And the majority of that year was, of course, before I got my raise. I got like a $2.50 raise. So now I'm making $27 an hour as opposed to the $24.50 that I made for the bulk of the year. So next year, let's just, without calculating incentive bonuses, overtime, holiday pay, I'm already set to make $57,000. So next year for my work, the 9 to 5 job, I'll probably make 60 grand. And I'm hoping that VHB Engines continues to grow on an upward trend. If I make more than I made this year, that'd be great. If I make the same, it'll be fine too. I'm fine with that. But let's just say if I'm making $60,000 for my regular job, VHB Engines needs to make like $120,000 to match that. And that's just, again, I'm not the best at math. That's just a soft guesstimate, because the money I make from VHB Engines, while it is very good, it's not game changing enough to make the drastic difference. Like the mass majority of the money in our account, you know, joint account with the wife, is the money that we earn from the job, you know. And then whenever I make an extra $1,000 or so off VHB Engines, it's sometimes it's more like a $600 increase, not $1,000, because I have to spend money on parts and whatnot. So $600, you know, versus the several thousand that I make clean from the job, while it is $600 is a great little bump, it's still not enough to even be like a full work week. So I would have to do multiple jobs a week to be able to do that, and it is what it is. So I just talked about in the last video that I would make a long one if I had a reason to, and I probably lost a bunch of you guys. But for those of you guys that are interested on how this shit works, and kind of I want an idea on how much it is definitely worthwhile for me to continue to do this. I do believe that that VHB is going to continue to grow, especially I think if people stay in touch with me that are buying engines instead of just disappearing and giving me results. I think that also helps. There are still people I deal with that are shy and doing business with somebody like me, but I think I've done the best I can to be super transparent, keep in contact with everybody, try to take care of everybody's needs, to provide customer service and support, whatnot. And then I will just see where it goes. I'm not in a rush. I'm okay with the pace of growth I have. I mean, more money is always great, but I'm not fucking, gonna die if I don't make any more. So yes, I'm gonna continue to push advertisement. I'm gonna continue to grow in certain ways, and hopefully I can influence where I grow in certain ways to try and make money off of things I would like to make money off of. So that'd be good. But who knows? It took me 4 years to get to the point where I had one really amazing year. Like, I made money off VHB engines here and there throughout the last 4 years. But when I left Florida in 2016 to go to West Virginia, I was there for almost 2 years, and I made no money, or virtually no money, on the entire time I was gone. And then when I came back, it's not like I made money right away, because I decided to tell myself, I am not going to undersell my work anymore. I'm not going to do it. So I stopped advertising locally. And I still haven't got to the point where I'm going to do that yet. Now, if I manage to build a head that is unspoken for, is come out of my pocket, I will start advertising those, because I think that the price I'm going to ask for those built heads, I think that even the cheap motherfuckers down here can't really argue with that too much. So I think that there's a chance that I might be able to sell heads at that price, at my asking price here, versus blocks, which people don't want to spend the money on. But that's what, my big things comes to you guys, because there's a lot of YouTubers out there who make a lot of fucking money off YouTube because of viewership and monetization. I'm not that guy. My channel is only 10,000 deep. I get like $100 every 4 months. So I don't make shit from YouTube monetization. But again, like I said, I'm pretty sure I've made like $28,000 right now. I got to punch in the last $1,500 I made. I haven't added into the account. We got 2 weeks left in November, and then we got December. I don't know how my sales are going to do in December when Christmas time is here. I probably won't make any money, but I thought for a while that I was on track to make 30 grand. It didn't happen. Well, it might not happen. I might come real close. If I could make it, that'd be great. But again, so I haven't made any money off YouTube, but I have made money because of YouTube, because most of the guys coming and buying from me are coming through social media that I'm not doing as local advertisements. So I'm greatly appreciative of that. And I'm also greatly appreciative of the fact that VHB engines isn't have to be on YouTube to make the money, because if YouTube has full control of the revenue flow of VHB engines, then if they ever decide to shut me down for whatever reason, because I've called one too many people of cunts or something, or whatever reason they decide to shut me down or demonetize me, it literally makes no difference, because I only make $100 every 4 or so months from YouTube. So it doesn't matter if YouTube decides that they're not gonna fucking have my shit monetized or whatever like that, because you guys are shopping through VHB engines, and I appreciate that on the backside. So social media links are in the description down below, guys. The website's there as well if you want to browse. I haven't mentioned Patreon in a while, but I do have a Patreon. I had 15 patrons for a while. I'm down to 11. I don't have special content to give on Patreon, so what I did was offer discounts on Patreon. If you're subscribed to Patreon and you want to shop VHB engines, you can get discounts based on your patronship. And I do realize that you have a chance to gain the system there. You could literally donate $1 and I give you a discount, and then you can erase your fucking dollar later on, and then fuck me, right? But if you do that, I don't delete my comments, or I don't delete my messages from people. So if you do the kind of shady business with me, there's a good chance I'm never going to fuck with you again later on down the line. But if you want to come in and do a one and done, there's that potential there. All right, guys. So thanks for watching, and peace.